Anybody remember Middleman? Well, if you click this video, you probably do. I feel it's not talked about enough, though. I want it talked about more and obsessively more. For anybody who has never seen it or read it, we'll get to that. The Middleman was about Wendy Watson, a young artist who gets recruited to fight for the Middleman, a mysterious lantern-jawed superhero, and they fight all sorts of weird Silver Age supervillains. It was great, and I loved it, and it was probably on the wrong channel. But for a series so cued in on comic books that it brought up Astro City, which is always a good way to get me to like you, of course it started out as a comic book. And I have never read it until today. Or did I read it at some point? Well, I read it again. It's quite a pleasant surprise sometimes to find out that the show was very, very accurate to the comic, at least the first episode, because the first issue is practically the first half of the first episode. So let's talk about it. The series opens with Wendy Watson working at Ann Laboratories. What is Ann Lab? It's a science lab that does science things. Wendy's working a temp job as a receptionist there when this affront to nature attacks her. And Wendy equates herself rather well, being surprisingly calm under pressure. And before Wendy goes to the great hotel that is the underworld, the middleman shows up. Middleman! A lantern-jawed hero who's unflinchingly polite and courteous. He says stuff like, ma'am. By the way, this is a really funny exchange. Excuse me, ma'am, but I'm going to have to ask you to step aside. Both the monster and Wendy look confused. The human, still confused. The one on my left. He takes care of the monster, but he is in fact quite impressed with Wendy and her performance. I've always liked this line, and you know what? He was right. Specificity is the soul of all good communication. That is legitimately some advice I took in my life. Then some mob guys get killed. Then we cut to Wendy being interrogated about the explosion. Then she gives her father's backstory about how he tragically crashed under mysterious yet unexplained mysterious circumstances. The series has always had really slick, well-polished dialogue. It is full of incredibly witty, knowing repartees, and all the dialogue seems very conscious of the tropes these people's lives are living. Anyways, this is actually a nightmare about her never revealing what was actually going on with the middleman, and she finds herself in something I no way relate to, struggling to find a job. Sometimes in these videos, when I'm just recapping stuff, it frustrates me because this is a good series. I would really like people to read and or watch it because I would have a lot of fun sincerely talking about it with people. But I don't know. I wish I was a better reviewer, I guess. Comedies are especially hard because, like, here's another good joke I like. Every time Wendy goes home, they always call it the illegal sublet Wendy shares with another young photogenic artist. It's clever and knowing. But the thing about the series is there's so much love in this thing because the relationship Wendy shares with her roommate is really quite sweet. It's filled with a lot of love and affection. And that's what kind of goes throughout this whole thing is, yeah, it's a parody. It's definitely a parody, but it also likes the stuff it's parodying. The fact that it overlaps with young people just trying to figure out what to do with their lives feels real to me. Counterfiction is always about weird, strange worlds and people having to learn how to deal with these unusual, unstoppable forces. And, you know, that's a good metaphor for real life, I guess, and the experience you have of leaving college or leaving high school or just growing up or getting older. Or is it just life? Is it just life? I don't know. I've been there. I was a film student. World got weird. He gets a call from a mysterious company called the Jolly Fat Sweehawk and Temp Agency. There she meets Ida, surly secretary who puts her through a litany of strange tests. And she gets the job. And the job is working with a mysterious, unusual benefactor. Oh, you already guessed who it is. And it's the middleman. It brings her into an exciting world of adventure and excitement and superheroics. Does this hold up? Yeah, of course it does. I was actually quite surprised how faithful the TV show was to the comic. I mean, it's honestly pretty much word for word. It does help that the creator was also the showrunner of the show. There was like one or two jokes that I found honestly a little dated that I'm probably the only one who noticed. But besides that, yeah, this holds up. Makes me excited to read the rest of the series. And honestly, I really want to watch the show again.